Hey there, comic book fans. I'm back from the comic shop again today. And a pretty big day at the shop for me. I got 8 comics. But first, we got the new comic shop. It feels like a double issue. That's extra thick. What's in there? Oh, we've got 1736, 1735. So I guess there's 2 in 1. And Christmas special. So I got lots of comic shop news to look at. Justice League, Endless Winter. And this one is I Walk with Monsters. She walks the walk. So lots of comic shop news there. And then the other freebie I got was DC Future State. Just a free thing. I guess they give you, all sorts of info on what's coming out. Who's who, what's what, and this. I guess they're, for 2 months, they're doing this instead of their regular comics. Well, they take a look at DC Comics Future. Oh, and also the comic that's sitting on my top of my printer, the bought only for its cover one. For this week. I think this is a recent one. I think I bought this year or last year. I can't remember. But I remember it was one of the first issues. I must have bought it this year. One of the first issues I picked up. But I didn't like the comic, but I liked the cover. So I tucked it away from my bought only for the covers section. And brought it out and was looking at it this week as I had it on top of my printer. That's my museum area. The top of my printer. Then on to the comics we got. Usagi Yojimbo, Wanderer's Road #1. This is, I think, one of the reprints, the new reprint series, which is in color for the first time. I already have these in black and white, but I'm okay with buying them again in color. I could always get... I chose to get these sort of instead of, I guess they're coming out with new trades, because I've never really bought trades of Usagi. I have all the issues, so I'm continuing to buy those issues in color. And then we got more reprints. We've got, I think this is Iron Man 150? 149, pardon me. It continues in 150. I have the original of this on my shelf, but I wanted to look at a new printing of it for $1, see how the... Well, it looks like it's shrunk down a little bit. There's a lot of space at the bottom of this. I don't think the proportions of comics changed that much. Look at all that space down the bottom. Weird. Don't know who set that up. And we also picked up another one I have the original for. But I picked up this new reprint version for $1. This one has the same amount of space down the bottom. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, this is one of them. I started buying Spider-Man a couple years before this. I remember when the Black Cat premieres as 194. I think I started buying Spider-Man off the shelf at around 165. I had some issues before it, but I bought it regularly then. I think it was the Stegron Lizard crossover. We're fighting each other while Spider-Man fights in the museum. I remember that. But this one came, a couple of years after it, and I remember enjoying it. Haven't read it in a long time. Then we've got one looking very much like an old Marvel comic. It's a Cerebus and Hell one, SpiderWhore. Let's see, how many of these are there? 1709 of 2414. 2414, that's one of his higher print runs. You know what it is? I think people buy these just for their cover, their parody covers. So if he gets a good parody cover, he sells he can sell a few hundred more copies, if not. So I think some of these were down to like 1,500, if not 900, 1,000 more copies. So, matter of fact, I think I said the Batvark penis is going back for a second print, the parody cover of that Black Label Batman one. But you know what? I think most people buy these for the covers, but I still enjoy the insides too. Then we've got Savage Dragon 254, Vicious Circle Triumphant. Vicious Circle is the gang of supervillains who he's fought most of his career. He used to be in Chicago, but just traveled up to Canada with him. Not kind of with him, they came after him, but the United States government was doing all sorts of things to crack down on the supervillains. So the whole Vicious Circle moved up to Canada. And they're trying to take the place over, but we'll see if the Savage Dragon can stop them. Doesn't look like he can from that cover. And what else do we have here? Monstrous. Talk stories. That's right. They decided to do something. They usually are on hiatus in this time of year, but they decided to put out a 2-issue mini. And I think it's still the same Marjorie Liu, Sana Takeda, Russ Wooten. So it's interesting. I guess they're just delving into the past of some of these characters, and they didn't, I guess they're doing something during their break. They had enough time, so that's interesting. Only one of two that is up there, says up there, so I'll buy both of those. And then, hey, I think this is what was on the cover of that Comic Shop News, one of them. And it's I Walk with Monsters. Another Vault book, Nightfall. I liked the cover, I liked the art. Vault comics are usually, okay. In JC's past is the important man who took away her brother. Now JC has David, who sometimes transformed into a terrifying beast. Together, they found a way to live and to hunt, sniffing out men who prey on the vulnerable. But JC and David are about to run into the important man again. A haunting story about the monsters that walk beside us, and sometimes lurk within. Okay. Looks vaguely like Becky Cloonan art. Ooh, there's a monster. Caught my eye. I'll give it a read. Then the last one I got. There's finally a new Love and Rockets issue out. There's Jaime's front cover. Beto got the back cover this issue, number 9. It's funny, I just reread number 8 this week because I saw this was coming out. I'm like, well, I'll reread this one before, but it's been sitting out all these months. And there was a piece of Beto's story where these 2 people were killed by spraying acid in their face, and it was just like so gruesome. I'm like, I didn't even remember that was in there from when I first read it in February or whenever it came out. I was like, it really stuck with me, that gruesome death. And the people killing were so casual. Sometimes the horror of certain stories stick with me, and it did that, and it did in that one. Well, let me show you a couple of things I read this week, only because I think it was Monday night. Football game was on. I was looking for something to read. And I pulled this off my shelf. The Minks from 1998. Peter Milligan and Sean Phillips. I think this was the first time I ever saw Sean Phillips art back in 1998. And I remembered the story being weird but unsatisfying. And I think I'd still describe it. It's such a strange story. First of all, let me go through the cover. I think this was before they had all their marketing down, where everything was written in trades since it's 1998. So the first 3 issues are just the first 3 issues. Then with the 4th issue, it's like beginning of this story, 4-part story, and blah 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 blah. And it really wasn't the beginning of a 4. It just kind of continued the story. It just kind of continued. There we go. The Monkey Quartet, number 1, is down the bottom of issue 4. And it really just continued the story from the first 3 issues. Then the Monkey Quartet ended with issue 7. And then the last issue, issue 8, was really still part of it. It wrapped everything up. But it's such a strange... I couldn't even begin to describe it. It's like... And what's weird about it, too... The main part of the story is one of the monkeys we shot off into space many years ago is coming back and sending telepathic messages to Earth. So he's coming. So people start to think he's the savior coming back because he said he's going to talk to God when he gets back to Earth. Meanwhile, we have this lead character here, the Minks, she's just a regular girl who has a split personality, and the split personality I think has superpowers. It's not always made clear, but and there's a huge cast of characters. There's the lead character, Minks, her mother, her father, her 3 roommates, the president, a senator, a guy behind the guy, and it's like, in the end, none of those people had anything to do with the actual plot of this. Like they didn't affect the monkey plot at all. It was just it's best described as a swing and a miss. I enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's the first time I got to see Sean Phillips' art, and it's kind of interesting, but it doesn't pull together in a weird sort of way. And the other thing I read was Invincible Collection 10. It's funny, I read the first 9 of these in like a month. I think it was September. Then I just kind of stalled at this one. I think I don't want to read the last. There's only 11 and 12 left. And I was like, I didn't want to read the last 3 that fast. So it's kind of like, now I got 2 of them left. But excellent series if you ever want to read a good superhero series. 12 volumes of Invincible. All right, now let me show you a little of my artwork. I did another painted lady. This one, it's interesting. She camouflages more in with everything. I think because the other one had her arms spread, and this one's got her arms at her side, behind her back even. So that the camouflage of all the markings on her sort of blend in with the background a little more. And she's a little scarier because she's got those horns and a third eye in the middle of her head. And she's got some sort of monsters eating her chest. But I like the way that one came out. Came out a lot stranger than... There's the other one. Came out a lot stranger than that one. But I like strange. Strange is good, so... There you go. Some comics, some artwork, and you guys have a good Thanksgiving.